Even though reality TV is known for being chaotic, nothing could have prepared viewers for the mayhem that broke out when rumors of a startling altercation between Sierra and Yandy started to circulate. Claims of a brawl that was so intense that it left everyone startled are circulating on the internet, and it is true that cameras were filming when things got out of hand. These sources claim that what began as a furious quarrel descended into a stunning altercation in which Sierra allegedly pulled Yandy by her wig in front of the cast members, who were shocked. Insiders maintain that drama like this is precisely what simmers behind the scenes. Despite the fact that it's the kind of explosive moment that feels like it belongs in a movie, the situation becomes much more complicated because there are claims that Mendices got caught in the middle, which would have fueled an already blazing fire. Now, supporters want to know how things got to this point. Did years of stress finally explode in the most repulsive way possible? Was this all manufactured for the cameras? We dissect every aspect of this purported altercation tonight. From the behind-the-scenes rumors to the startling responses circulating on social media, the group had assembled for what the producers said would be a routine sit-down to discuss some outstanding issues, and the evening had begun like any other filming session. Everyone was aware that for months, Sierra and Yandy's friendship had been strained due to murky rumors and unresolved grievances. However, nobody anticipated that this evening would turn into one of the most violent scenes in the history of the event. Insiders claim that as soon as Yandy entered the room, the atmosphere changed. Her cool, collected demeanor made it clear to everyone right away that she wasn't here to play games. Sierra, on the other hand, spoke quickly and obviously with attitude, as she greeted the group, already sounding agitated. It seemed subtle at first: a caustic laugh, a raised eyebrow, and small jabs. However, things heated up more quickly than anyone could have imagined as the cameras filmed. In a remark regarding loyalty, Yandy implied that some people just feigned friendship when it suited them. Girl, don't even start with me, because if we're talking about fake loyalty, you should be the one explaining yourself, Sierra retorted instantly, her tone piercing. As the two women's eyes met, tension increased in the room and cast members began to shuffle uneasily. Many people were unaware that this went beyond trivial remarks and superficial animosity. There were rumors circulating behind the scenes about Mendices' potentially inappropriate talks and betrayed trust, while some maintained that it was all innocent. Others claimed Sierra had gotten too near to him at specific occasions. However, it was evident that Yandy had heard enough to lower her defenses, and every remark she made toward Sierra was tinged with mistrust. Voices raised as the debate intensified, mingling with other people's gasps. Sierra yelled, "You always act like you above everybody," while making wildly erratic hand gestures, "but you're a wreck behind closed doors. Say whatever you want about me, but don't mention my family name," said Yandy, her face tensing as she spoke in a low but sharp voice. "You have no idea what you're talking about. And you have no idea how much pressure I face on a daily basis." The vibe changed even more when family was brought up. Indirectly, Mendices' name was spoken, and all of a sudden, pride, respect, and reputation were at stake, instead of merely friendship or loyalty. In an attempt to create the kind of dramatic scene that would make headlines, the producers leaned in and recorded every detail with their cameras. The mood in the room was later characterized as electrifying, as if the air itself were on the verge of breaking. Feeling trapped, Sierra went one step farther. "Perhaps your man wouldn't be engaging in conversations with other women if he truly respected you," she said, leaning in close, almost whispering. That one sentence appeared to start an uncontrollable chain reaction. Yandy's body tensed as she got up, her face flushed with anger, and she demanded, "What did you just say to me?" Anaki broke out. The two women were screaming over each other, drowning out the cast members' attempts to step in. Words like fake, lies, and betrayal continued reverberating around the room. Everyone was suddenly caught in the crossfire. As the tension that had been building for months finally boiled over, Sierra was unrelenting in her criticism of Yandy, accusing her of concealing a flawed reality behind a faultless facade. Her voice was sharp, enough to pierce through the background commotion as she continued. You want to act like everything in your world is perfect, but we all know the truth. Clearly trembling, Yandy retaliated with her own charges, portraying Sierra as envious and attention-seeking. Then the tipping point arrived. Sierra's anger erupted into action as she blocked Yandy's path as she tried to leave. As the audience erupted in cries and gasps, Sierra stretched out in a single motion, her palm tangled in Yandy's wig, pulling her back. Cameras captured the startling scene as cast members rushed forward to tear them apart as security hurried to stop them. It was unplanned, unpolished, and sloppy. It was an absolute mess. As the two ladies fought, chairs scuffed the floor, beverages spilled, and cries of "stop it" reverberated. Sierra's hold on them resisted security's attempts to break them up. And Yandy's voice could be heard screaming, "Get her off me! She's lost her mind!" The crew had to edit the audio, but according to insiders, what transpired during those brief moments will be remembered as one of the most violent altercations the show has ever witnessed. And from the other side of the room, someone yelled Mendiz's name just when it looked like things couldn't get much worse, whether genuine or only imagined. His involvement simply served to fuel the fires. That's precisely why you pressed. Because you know what I'm saying has some truth to it, Sierra yelled, still gasping for air. Don't you dare bring my husband into this. You don't know the battles I fight every single day to protect my family, said Yandy, her voice shaking and her face breaking into a mix of hurt and wrath. Her comments hung heavily in the air, and, for a while, the room fell silent. Everyone understood that this was more than simply a television drama. It was raw, emotional, and on the verge of shattering relationships that had been cultivated over years. Some cast members were unable to conceal their disbelief, while others attempted to defuse the situation. Someone was overheard muttering, "Nobody is going to believe what just happened here. It's going to blow up all over social media." Another argued that the video might never ever run, saying that it was too violent and unpolished for producers to risk airing in its entirety. However, the harm had already been done, and the rumors were getting out of control. Sierra held her ground as Yandy was escorted out of the room, her wig unkempt and her feelings on display. Her chest rose and fell with every breath. "Shh," she murmured. "I'm tired of the fake image." Hear a voice that was barely audible but sharp enough for people to hear. Despite being rattled, the cameras kept recording, capturing every moment of the aftermath. There was no denying that this argument had gone too far. It was no longer only entertainment. It was shame, unadulterated suffering, and charges that went too far to be written off as mere reality TV fiction. After learning about the tragedy, viewers couldn't stop wondering what had happened and, more significantly, what it would entail for the show's central relationships. After that dramatic brawl, the atmosphere in the building was nearly intolerable. The cast members who had just witnessed the turmoil were still processing what had happened in front of their eyes, while other crew members were pacing around uncomfortably and muttering to one another. The echo of irate cries and the sound of chairs rubbing against the floor were still audible. It wasn't just another dispute. Rather, it was the kind of incident that upends a show's entire structure and leaves everyone unsure of what will happen next. As he was led away by security, Yandy appeared both enraged and devastated. Her trust had been damaged, her pride shattered, and her wig stolen. She attempted to maintain her composure by keeping her head down. But it was evident from the tears welling up in her eyes how profoundly this episode had wounded her. Even in that unfiltered moment, she understood that millions of people would soon be observing and analyzing her suffering. Despite the camera's best efforts to keep back and give her privacy, Sierra was still furious on the other side, pacing back and forth as her chest heaved as though the fire within her had not yet gone out. She snapped, "No, I'm not letting her play me like that." In response to her friend's attempts to comfort her, she wants to pretend that she's flawless. But the reality must be known by all. Her voice was piercing, with fury evident in every word. The primary focus of conjecture was the truth she was referring to. Fans had already begun posting theories on social media, with some arguing that Ciara had gone too far in dragging Yandy's wig, and others asserting that Yandy had finally been caught manipulating others. The internet couldn't get enough of the drama, hashtags started trending, and insider-leaked video of the incident became viral. The abrupt reference to Mendices during the altercation, however, was what really had folks talking. There was more to this narrative than a minor argument, as evidenced by the fact that his mention could provoke such anger from Yandy and such audacious charges from Ciara. Insiders claim that Yandy had always been wary of Ciara's interactions with her husband, pointing out instances that didn't set well with her. Others thought there might be some reality to the tension, while others dismissed it as mere paranoia. Cast members congregated in different places in the hours following the altercation, each attempting to process what they had just seen. Some swayed in Yandy's direction, claiming that she had been humiliated in a way that no one should ever have to go through after being pushed too far. Others quietly acknowledged that Ciara might have simply said what people have been muttering for months behind closed doors. One cast member was heard remarking, "I just feel like she always protects him, even when she doesn't need to." Ciara just said aloud what many people have been thinking. The comments simply served to fan the flames, because it implied that the conflict was not limited to the two women, but rather related to the whole situation involving Yandy and her marriage. Still trembling, Yandy sat down with a close buddy in a quiet room. Her voice was shaking as she murmured, "I can't believe she did that. She just humiliated me in that way. And I've been trying to keep my composure and remain strong for my family." Despite her friend's attempts to console her, Yandy's rage continued to seep through. "She believes this to be a game, but this is my marriage, my family, and my life. I don't joke around with that." Ciara was venting to anybody who would listen in the meanwhile. She spoke with a mixture of indignation and frustration. She insisted, "Everyone wants to act like she's so innocent, but I know things people don't know. She is not this ideal friend or wife, and I won't hold back any longer if she wants to continue coming for me," concerned that Ciara could reveal more secrets than she should. Others in her immediate vicinity exchanged anxious glances. The way supporters were responding on social media further compounded matters. Within minutes, videos of the argument went viral on social media with comments like, "This fight is about to change everything," and "Ciara really dragged Yandy." The comments were mixed, with some criticizing Ciara for going too far and others accusing Yandy of spending too much time hiding behind her image. The argument had taken over the internet and was no longer just a quarrel. Suddenly, Mendices was pulled into the storm. His name continued coming up in conversations, even though he hadn't been there when the brawl started. Fans made assumptions about the meaning of Ciara's remarks, with some speculating that there may have been exchanges between the two that weren't acceptable to Yandy. Others contended that his intervention was merely a ploy to drive Yandy over the edge. In any event, his silence simply served to heighten the rumors. According to insiders, the event left producers both ecstatic and appalled. On the one hand, they were aware that the video was a huge hit with viewers. However, they were concerned that the fight would be too violent, too personal, and too sensitive to even air without dire repercussions. Nevertheless, they were unable to deny that the anarchy in this scene was precisely what made reality TV so alluring. The tension persisted in the days that followed. It appeared to spread like wildfire instead. In order to support the charges, supporters started looking through prior interviews, previous social media posts, and any other information that would link Ciara and Mendices. Now, every interaction that had previously gone unnoticed, every grin in a picture, every comment beneath a post was being dissected and examined as possible proof. And both women maintained their positions despite everything that was going on. Yandy insisted that her bond with Mendices was unbreakable, would not allow anyone to bring her marriage into disrepute. She allegedly told a buddy, "I don't care what people think they saw or heard. My spouse and I have experienced worse, and we are not going to let this get to us." However, behind closed doors, the sorrow was still evident, the kind of pain that was difficult to ignore. Sierra, however, seems prepared to step up. She gave others around her hints that she had more to say and more to disclose, and that if Yandy persisted, she wouldn't think twice about making everything public. Her assurance merely stoked conjecture that perhaps she had something tangible, something that might completely upend the narrative. The cast became more and more split, with some overtly taking sides and others remaining silent but obviously conflicted between loyalty and the truth. During filming, the mood became so tense that producers found it difficult to maintain control as murmurs filled the air. The two women's presence in the same room felt like a ticking time bomb that was about to detonate, and everything reached a climax. When the cataclysmic clash's aftermath reached an unimaginable level, even the most seasoned staff members were shaken by the situation between Sierra and Yandy, even though the production team believed they had seen it all before. Everyone was aware by this point that the altercation would not remain behind closed doors. The tale had grown larger than the show itself, and leaks were spreading more quickly than wildfire. Online debates focused on more than simply a battle between two women. They also explored the perils of secrets, the brittleness of friendships, and the perilous junction of private and public lives. The reactions of the rest of the ensemble added to the intensity of the scenario. Fearful of being caught in the crossfire, several members were openly avoiding both ladies. Others were quietly ecstatic, chatting about how this drama would increase their attention and screen time, unable to contain their excitement. One insider apparently remarked, "This is the kind of thing that takes the whole show viral." However, not everyone viewed it favorably. It was heartbreaking for everyone who knew Yandy and Sierra to see their friendship fall apart so quickly. Still in shock from the humiliation, Yandy had avoided most social situations. She favored keeping her social circle small and only surrounded herself with those she truly trusted. However, there were worries even among her close friends and family. "Listen, I know this hurt you, but you can't let her destroy your peace," remarked one of her closest confidants, drawing her aside. "She wins if you allow this to affect you." Although Yandy nodded, her eyes sent a different message. She was severely injured, and the reference of Mendices' name during the altercation had shattered her. Sierra, meanwhile, was anything but peaceful. She took advantage of the fact that she knew everyone was watching her now. She made hints that there was more to the issue than people knew during a live social media session. Her tone was belligerent as she stated, "People think I just snapped out of nowhere. But believe me, I had a purpose. Unless I'm pushed to the limit, I'm not the kind to just throw hands." Thousands of admirers demanded that she provide the details after her remarks whipped them into a frenzy. Was there anything she knew about Mendices and Yandy that wasn't yet public? Or did she use the drama to enhance her own appearance on the show, or was she bluffing? Fans were riveted to every post, update, and behind-the-scenes rumor because of this uncertainty. As well as the creators, their luck was unbelievable. Interest in the season skyrocketed as a result of the brawl turning into free exposure. Nevertheless, they were treading carefully because they knew that if they handled the matter poorly, it could have terrible consequences. But when Mendices himself finally stood up, that was the true turning point. He made a subtle remark during a casual encounter that swiftly went viral on social media following days of silence. People constantly try to twist things. "I'm not sure what's being stated out there. I know who I stand with and where I stand." Even though his remarks were ambiguous, the timing was crucial. Fans saw it as an attempt to put an end to the rumors and instantly link them to the current rivalry. However, his statement did little to settle the situation. Rather, fueled the flames. People started analyzing every word he said, assuming that his ambiguity meant he was concealing something. Why did he not simply refute it? Fans inquired. Why is it left so open-ended? As the rumors spread, both women were pulled further into the maelstrom once more. After hearing his remark, Yandy apparently lost it. She told a close friend, "Why must he always sound so ambiguous? He has no idea how hard I'm fighting for our family's reputation. People will now believe that what she said is true." As she wiped away her tears, her voice broke. Frustration and fatigue mingling. She had always prided herself on defending her marriage and her family's reputation, so it wasn't just about the battle anymore. But when Sierra heard what he had to say, she grinned. See? He didn't even shut it down. A companion allegedly heard her say, "Maybe I'm not so crazy after all." Her self-assurance only strengthened the story and prompted supporters to believe that there was more going on. The disparity between each woman's followers got more savage by the day, and the rumors became louder. The following filming session saw the highest level of tension behind the scenes, contrary to their better judgment. The producers chose to put Sierra and Yandy in the same room once more in the hopes that the altercation would yield more unfiltered material. The atmosphere grew tense as soon as Yandy walked in. Cast members looked at each other anxiously, preparing for the impending storm. At first, Yandy sat across the room with her arms crossed over her chest in an attempt to remain composed. Sierra didn't waste any time. "Though, are you going to pretend that I'm the only one with skeletons?" With sarcasm in her voice, she inquired. "You may believe you are impervious, but everyone has their breaking point." With her patience ebbing, Yandy's gaze narrowed. She yelled, "You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea how much I struggle every day to maintain my family's unity?" Everyone in the room grew silent, anticipating what would happen next. With an unwavering face, Sierra leaned forward. "If your partner was truly as solid as you claim, there wouldn't even be a discussion about this, so perhaps you should consider those closest to you." The words lingered in the atmosphere like a ticking time bomb. She yelled, "You don't get to talk about my husband. You don't get to question my marriage." Her face contorted in rage and her voice breaking. "You have no idea how much I have sacrificed and endured for this family." She got to her feet, raising her voice with each sentence, and disaster appeared to be just a few seconds away once more. In a desperate attempt to keep the two women apart, Tia jumped in. However, the harm was already done. The story had changed, and the emotional wounds were severe, even in the absence of another physical altercation. Outside observers no longer saw merely a quarrel between two women. Instead, they witnessed a deteriorating relationship, a failing marriage, and a storm of secrets that threatened to ruin everything in its path. The producers came to a vital realization as the night went on. This was no longer only a plot point. It had become larger than the performance itself and the cameras. It was raw, intimate, and perilously near to destroying all these people had worked so hard to achieve. Everyone realized that the battle was only getting started and wasn't yet ended. The point at which the stress boiled over was when the whole ensemble of love and hip-hop was enmeshed in a web of rumors, affiliations, and growing tension as the pandemonium from the violent fight between Yandy and Sierra spilled into the days that followed. Everyone was now obliged to choose a side in what started out as a heated disagreement that escalated into a full-fledged caste war. Both women persisted in their accusations, causing division among producers, cast members, and even fans. Social media was already overflowing with grainy videos, real-time reactions, and unending rumors the morning after the battle. Some supporters praised Yandy for refusing to back down, claiming she had put up with too much abuse for too long. Some, on the other hand, supported Sierra, claiming that she was just sick of being treated like she was beneath Yandy. Every gossip blog was blazing with their opinions. And hashtags like hashtag Team Yandy and hashtag Team Sierra started to rise, adding gasoline to the firestorm. The producers were in a panic behind the scenes, lawyers were referenced, voices were raised, and private rooms were being used for meetings. The violent altercation had gone beyond far. According to one insider, executives were discussing whether the only way to manage the impact would be to suspend or possibly fire employees. And contracts were in jeopardy. However, these rumors returned to the cast, intensifying the tension rather than diffusing it. Still furious, Sierra is said to have informed close pals that she would not think twice about revealing every single truth she knew about Yandy. She asserted that Yandy wasn't as spotless as she made herself out to be, and that she would ensure the truth was revealed if the network shielded her during an Instagram Live. She even alluded to having receipts that might completely change the course of events. Fans were enraged by her remarks and began speculating about the type of dirt Sierra might have hidden. In the meantime, Yandy was also not giving up. She confided in her loved ones that she didn't fear Sierra's threats. She thought Sierra was playing a bluff by scaring her with the term receipts. But in his heart, Yandy was anxious. She was aware that impression was crucial in reality TV, and that her reputation may suffer if even half of Sierra's suggestions were made public. Producers made a conscious effort to keep the two women apart as filming continued. Tension was in the air, like smoke before a fire. Despite scenes being meticulously planned to avoid another physical conflict, they were felt even in different rooms. Knowing that any casual remark could set off another explosion, the cast would discuss things in whispers. Then the unexpected moment arrived. Sierra unexpectedly appeared during a group scene at a well-known industry event. Yandy was in the middle of speaking with Erica when she noticed her, and the cameras were already rolling. Ice formed in the air, sensing that something significant was about to occur. Many automatically took out their phones, even security, who'd received a pre-briefing, was unprepared for what transpired. Ignoring the producers who were frantically waving behind the cameras, Sierra charged straight at Yandy. There, in front of everyone, she demanded an apology. She accused Yandy of attempting to ruin her chances on the show. And her voice shook the whole room. Rather than appear weak, Yandy stood up. She calmly informed Sierra that she owed her nothing and that she should earn her respect rather than seize it with drama. Sierra shattered when the words struck her like glass. Once more, the two women surged at one another as the altercation intensified. Chairs screamed, glasses shattered, and people hurried everywhere as insults were screamed at the top of their lungs. Hair was yanked and nails were scratched. Security jumped in and struggled to separate them. Despite their best efforts to separate them, Erica and Bambi were sucked into the turmoil themselves. However, producers did not step in to stop the cameras this time. Knowing that the video would become the season's most talked about moment, they allowed it to air. Every word, every shove, and every scream was recorded in high definition and was just waiting to be turned into a gold rating. Both women were taken out separately after the altercation was broken up, while Sierra was detained in another room, still yelling that she wasn't finished. Yandy was spotted pacing outside, shaken and angry. Cast members were scared and guests fled as the event itself was destroyed. The internet exploded. Once more, later that evening, almost immediately after the battle, video footage began to circulate like wildfire. The fan base became even more divided as hashtags Change.Sierra had already crossed the line twice, according to some admirers, who were demanding that she be fired. Others contended that she was agitated by Yandy, who pushed buttons while concealing herself behind her polished exterior, until Sierra lost it. The story was taken up by media outlets in a matter of hours. The battle was all over the gossip headlines, with adjectives like explosive, violent, and unprecedented used everywhere. The network was under tremendous pressure to act Since the cast's reputations were at stake, producers had crisis talks. Backstage that went into the morning, the question now centered on the entire brand rather than just Yandy and Sierra. Could hip-hop and love endure this degree of turmoil? Or had things finally reached a breaking point? The big twist, however, is when there were speculations that the network would actually take advantage of the drama. According to insiders, executives were debating whether to make the dispute the focal point of a whole spin-off.